So guys, we're going to talk about how to be a crypto millionaire within the next 5 years. And I want you to know that history repeats. And right now, we are at the start of another repetition of history. Now, a lot of crypto millionaires are going to be born in this next run. And whether you are going to be one of those, it really depends on how you act and what moves you take. And that's what we're really going to talk about in this video. So be sure to grab a cup of tea or coffee and watch through this entire video because it's going to be a little bit different than my other videos. And I'm going to explain why. So I had to put a little cardigan on because you don't see it, but this red shirt is an old shirt. It has a bunch of holes in it. So I felt like putting on a cardigan would make me look a little bit homeless. And you might hear a little bit of thunder because right now, as I'm filming this in Virginia, there's a big thunderstorm going on. And I don't know about you, but when I was little, I actually had trouble sleeping in thunderstorms. Luckily enough, I also had this blankie that I was super emotionally attached to, and the day my dad said, yeah, you are too old for this, and threw away that blankie, man, that was like ripping my heart out. But let me know in the comments whether you had some sort of, I don't know, special product like a blankie or a teddy bear or like a nightlight to help you go to sleep when there was a thunderstorm. But anyways, I just wanted to go through with you. If you have been following this channel for a long time, then you might have noticed, you might not, but actually I've been struggling with the content of this channel. I felt like I've definitely been plateauing, and I've heard of this from other YouTubers before, and when you're plateauing, you have to make innovation. So you either innovate or you die. So I've been thinking about how to innovate with this channel, and we go through a lot of facts like reading the white paper and looking at cryptos and all that stuff, but not a lot of extra spice. And I think the extra spice where I'm gonna try to make it work is through stories. So you're gonna get a lot more stories, something personal from my life that I could relate to make learning about crypto more fun. So I actually hope you enjoy that. But if you are new, then you're starting to see where I'm hopefully gonna lift off from a plateau that I've been feeling, because that's been something that I've been really struggling with the last couple months. So other than that, if, like I always say, if you haven't yet smashed the like button or subscribe, go ahead and demolish that, and let's get into it. So we're gonna start this off with, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Really, it was really the worst of times because the time I'm speaking of is back in 08 and 09, which is the last financial crisis. And at that time, that is when Lehman Brothers, which was the fourth largest investment bank, I believe, they actually got bankrupt, right? They went out of business. And that was a time when a lot of people lost their houses, they lost their 401ks, they lost their retirement. And that was 14 years ago. And at that time, I was 16 years old. I was still in high school, you know, one more year and I will graduate. My parents didn't actually have that big of a shock on the 08-09 financial crisis, mainly because we lived in Canada, you know, we have old age security. It's a socialist country, so we weren't hit that bad. But I really think that in today's environment with COVID, the Ukraine-Russia thing, the prices that are hitting Canadians are worse than ever. And am I glad that both my brother and I, my parents' child, we're grown right now, so they don't have that much of a fear because we can fend for ourselves. But back then, you know, 14 years ago, I was 16, and to make the calculations easy for those of you who are wondering how old I am 30 right now. So 14 years ago, you know, 30 minus 14, that's 16. At 16, I would be in 12th grade. And a year later, that would be when I graduated and when I entered college. Now, it might sound like I'm super smart because a year later, I would be 17 and I would go to Simon Fraser University in Canada. And I would say that it was a pretty cool school. Mind you that we didn't have sororities or fraternities when time I entered university. We call it university. I know in America, we call it college here, but I just use university because I'm still Canadian. And if you're gonna stereotype and say, oh, Donald is Asian, he's super smart, of course he's gonna get into university or college 1 year earlier. Well, I just gotta say that I'm not super smart. The reason why I entered university at 17 is because my birthday is in December, so I'm a late baby when it comes to being born in 1991. That is why I got in university when I was 17. All my other friends, they were all 18. At any rate, back then in that day, even though I was relatively young, you know, 16, 17, I took money super seriously because growing up, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. You know, my parents are both immigrants from Hong Kong and they came here and they still struggle with the English language because the people that were around us were all Cantonese. So whenever we have people over, they spoke Cantonese. Friends, family, we all spoke Cantonese. So really, they didn't really have that immersion that you would have if you were a foreigner and you're working at an English-speaking firm. Most immigrants at that time would actually just, open Chinese restaurants, which is actually what my aunt did, or they work at one, or do something different. But anyways, growing up, we were super poor, and my dad was basically working minimum wage at a grocery store. In the summers, he'd cut grass as a gardener, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I'll tell you right now that in today's environment, they would not survive Vancouver. So yeah, I gotta say that my heart goes out to all of those new immigrants that are moving to North America now, because it's so much harder with the prices where they are and inflation. Let me know where you are from and let me know how much housing has cost for you, because the last place I was at, they tried to raise my rent from, I was paying $1,800 and they tried to raise it to $2,200, right? $400 increase. So that's crazy. I got out of there. Now I'm paying at a place where I'm paying something around $1,700. So I'm gonna expect the rent prices to increase the time I have to renew. So if we're talking about immigrants who are earning minimum wage, and you all know that wage is not keeping up with inflation, even though people got raises this year, yeah, they're gonna struggle. So let me know where you're from and how it is for the situation where you are right now. Anyways, guys, way back when I was 16, I was actually reading a lot of investing books, and these were my first ones. I mean, like Intelligent Investor. I also read Security Analysis, which I think I have here somewhere, which is here. Also, both are from Ben Graham, who is the mentor of Warren Buffett, right? So guy knows what he's talking about. And what I learned mostly from that is the difference between value and growth investing. So I was looking at stocks back then in 09, 08, and around that time, I just had my first summer job. So I had some hard-earned money, and I could throw them all into stocks, but I really didn't. And back then I was looking at Intel, which was selling. You can see the price here. The lowest was around 13, 15 bucks. So now it's at 41. But there was another, which was AMD, right? And they were selling at $2. And if you look at their last 52-week high, they were at 164.46. So if I had bought there, $2, spent all 3K or something at AMD, and rode it all the way to the top and sold out, that would have been an 82x, which meant that had I invested that $3,000 in 09 and sold out at the top, I'd have netted $250,000. That's a great payday. Now, clearly I did not make that bet, because if I did, I wouldn't be making YouTube videos. I'll probably be retired at a beach somewhere. But here's the point I want to get across, because you're probably thinking, Donald, I thought I was here to learn about how to become a crypto millionaire. And I really feel that to be a crypto millionaire, you got to learn about the history and where we're coming from. Because yesterday I was at this event that was hosted by the roommates, Hafiz. They're another big YouTube channel that centers on men's development. And Hafiz said something profound. He said, what would you do if you had a time machine? Would you go back and actually get the girl? Because in this life right now, you lost the high school girl that you wanted to go out with. Would you go back now knowing what you know now and actually get the girl? Would you go to exchange it because maybe you skipped out on exchange while you were in college? Or maybe you'd go and buy $100 in Bitcoin, right? Because where Bitcoin is now, yeah, I really wish I bought earlier. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I really don't think that Bitcoin is going back to $100. But the time machine is really right in front of you right now, but it's half working and it's half not working. I really believe that over this month to, let's say, the start of June, I really think that this time is the best time to buy something like Bitcoin or Ethereum or some crypto that you really believe in right now. Not Terra Luna, stay away from that. But I really think that right now is the best time to dollar cost average if you're planning to hold for the next 10 years. Because remember what happened when I showed you AMD, right? $2 to 164. That was like 82x, right? That same thing is what I think will happen, because we're just coming out of, or we're still in that big financial crisis right now. And I say this to most of you guys, and I know that most of you guys will not I repeat, will not take the opportunity that is right in front of your face, which is why I say that only a small handful of you will actually make bets that will actually turn you into a crypto millionaire within the next couple years. So for those of you who are new to crypto, or even for some of you who are experienced, I'm going to show you a little trick, and I'm going to repeat again that I'm not a financial advisor, so you have to do your own due diligence and do your own research. Check with your gut to make sure you're good with this, because with crypto, things are never 100%. We saw what happened with Luna. But back with Bitcoin, you can see here that this graph looks pretty horrible, right? We are at the 1 hour, and you can see that here in May 22, it was at 40K, and all you see is just this big drop. That is scary. But if you just zoom out, let's go to 1 day. You could see where Bitcoin came and went, right? Bitcoin at just around October of 2020, right? It was at 10K, and it just climbed and climbed. We actually hit a high here at 69K. This is when a lot of people were buying. They were bullish on Bitcoin. And now we're returning to levels, and they're all freaked out, right? When people here were probably the same way, right? Because they just came out of Bitcoin, they bought here, and they just wrote this whole thing down and think it's a scam, and they're selling out here, only for them to feel sad because they saw Bitcoin rise again and do a new all-time high. So right now, I really think it's the best time to buy. And you know, I'm not gonna say that you should buy Bitcoin, right? You have to check with yourself, because I know how it was. Because when I was 16, you know, I did back-breaking labor, working at warehouses, throwing over 50-pound boxes over my shoulder, and that was very laborious. And I never wanted to do that again, because doing all that hard work for 3 months or 2.5, because summer was just 2.5 months, it was tough, and I only made $3,000. So you don't want to just throw all that in what you feel like a gamble and maybe lose it all, because that would be horrible. So I know how it feels. So what you really have to do is check with yourself, you know? You really have to educate yourself. And the difference now compared to 10 years ago, maybe in 09, 08, is because there is so much social media and so much education, free education out there on YouTube, on Twitter, channels like these where you can learn. Back then, I had no way of learning how big money manipulates the markets and how everything is really a ploy by big money to own more assets, right? Now that I know that, I know how to play this game. But maybe you are like me back when it was 08, 09. You're young, you're 16, you don't know how anything works, how inflation works, why the Fed is raising rates, and you don't know any of that, and you might feel a little bit scared because you just went through backbreaking labor to earn $3,000, and now you're listening to some YouTuber and he's saying throw your money into Bitcoin. Yeah, no way. And I really think that is okay. But what I think is not okay is you not educating yourself, because there's so much education out there that is free where you can learn what kind of game our governments are playing with our hard-earned money. So like I always say, there is no risk, no reward. So sometimes, or all of the times, you have to take some sort of risk in order to get big rewards. It's just a matter of where you're taking that risk, right? And I really think that we still have a big bust coming along where the markets could potentially fall lower. Where I see Bitcoin could fall, I could see it fall maybe down to 25,000 and then start to come back up. So like around this area here, and then it would start to climb back up. So let's say you sniped the bottom, you sniped 25,000 and you hold it till it climbs to $1 million, right? And yeah, you heard that right. I really think that Bitcoin could go to $1 million. So $1 million, divide that by 25,000, that is a 40x difference or a 40x gain. And let's say it acted like AMD, you know, it took 10 years, that doesn't matter. What matters is that, let's say you put in 15K into Bitcoin. You don't even need a full Bitcoin, and you took that and times by 40x. Well, at the end of 10 years, if it took 10 years for Bitcoin to get to $1 million, I think it could be sooner, but we'll see. If it ends up 40xing, then you would end up from your 15K with $600,000 after that 10 years. I mean, that is still pretty dang good. Now we are going over what I think are the conservative coins, which is why I'm only going over Bitcoin and Ethereum. There are a lot of coins which I think have a lot of potential, but you can see that Ethereum had a high of almost $5,000, 48.68, right? And now it's trading at 2,000. I think that there is potential, like when Bitcoin could fall to 25, I think Ethereum can fall down to, let's say, 1300 maybe, so all the way down here. So maybe there, but we'll see. I think that's a long shot, but I think it's also a possibility. So let's say that you pick up ETH at 1300, right? So you invested 15,000, and I think that ETH can go to 20,000, right? So 20 divided by 1.3, that is 15.38x. So basically, if you took your 15,000 and you times it by 15.38, you're gonna end up with 230,700. So yeah, guys, you really have to check yourself and do the work, because in this whole entire video we went through the story of how I missed the last biggest opportunity in the last decade with AMD, Intel, and stocks. I'm not gonna go ahead and miss this opportunity with crypto. But I gotta say that we saw what happened with Terra Luna. Could the same happen to Bitcoin and Ethereum? Well, I gotta say that there is possibility there. No matter how small I think it is, there is possibility. And I'll just come out and say it. I don't have all the answers, but I will say that I don't pitch what I don't believe in this channel. But what I do pitch is not a go ahead. It's not a green light. It is a hint to go ahead and do more research on your own. But I know that most people won't do the research. They will go ahead and invest. They will lose their money and they will blame someone like Do Kwon, because what they really lack is ownership and responsibility, which is severely lacking, I think, in our Western society nowadays. And what do you feel about that? Let me know what you think about the lack of ownership and responsibility. Is that a thing you think in modern society, or do you think I'm just crazy? Now, what I'm trying to make with this whole entire YouTube community that we're building here, right, is something with like-minded individuals, because I read every single comment that you guys make, and yeah, there are a lot of victim mindseted people, for lack of a better term. And if you're one of those people, I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. Feel free to unsubscribe. If you want to continue commenting, yeah, it's just gonna help the engagement rate. So keep on going and keep doing that. But I really don't respond to those comments anyways. But for those of you who are here for something more, for growth, for that mindset, for having control of your emotions, then I think you might be in the right place. And what I want to leave you at this time is, how much do you believe in crypto? Because we went through a lot today. How much do you understand Bitcoin? Because at the last seminar that I was yesterday, a lot of people, they actually did not know what crypto was, what was the purpose of Bitcoin, and I was surprised. So that just goes to show how early we are in this conversation. And once they adopt, if we get in early enough, then we're gonna stand to profit and gain a lot, right? Because it's always the latecomers that are feeding off the scraps. But what I hope for you is that this video is the start, if you haven't already done so, to look more into Bitcoin, to look more into the cryptos that you want to invest in. We need to do the research, separate the crappy coins from the coins that will actually stay here within the next 5-10 years. And with that, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Make sure to smash the like and subscribe button if you got any value from it. And remember, guys, continue working, continue building, continue inspiring. See you next time.